I mean, so far for me, that's game of the tournament from from a spectator point of view, because 1 minute we're all got the shovels out ready to dig your grave, and then the next
and the King's Indian
and the King's Indian.
Okay, round about this point, we're thinking, now why on earth would anyone ever play the King's Indian at this level? And then round about here, we're thinking, my God, this is a great opening. So, okay, Hikaru, but the first question is.
The first question really is in this position after a4 on move 12. Actually, because I had this position against Vladimir Kramnik in the Olympiad in 2010. So I had played this before, and what did I play? Played something. Not
you played it.
Yeah, I should remember. But
that game was really hairy, wasn't it? It all happened in that game.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That game was.
You just held it, and it was.
I just held it, but I mean that's the great thing about the King's Indian is that in any of these lines, there's always going to be play. So, actually, I'd looked at this line a few months back. I was on vacation, and I was just up in Canada, drinking with one of my friends, and then we sort of were having a discussion on the King's Indian.
This is concocted over a
yes.
This is
Scotch, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do you know what? When we got to this position, I can believe that this variation was produced with alcohol. I mean, really.
Well, I think we decided it was bad, but then at the board, I couldn't figure it out.
It was a great night.
Why not just play it?
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah.
There are a lot of people saying around here that, wait a second, haven't you just lost a tempo?
Right, because basically the main line on move 12 would be, instead of a4, white plays f3, f4, knight c4, g5, a4, h5, and
right.
Yeah,
which is a tempo up. Or?
Right, exactly. Yeah, so I basically ended up playing this position down a tempo, and
hey, that's probably bad, right?
Probably, but like I said, at the board, I couldn't seem to figure it out, and I was sort of in one of these moods after yesterday's loss to Magnus, where I just felt like playing something exciting, and I didn't really care if I won or lost, so I just took a chance.
Okay.
Very good. It got really hairy right around.
Okay, so then you took on c5, and we thought, right. Well, okay, your position you bust, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, with the pawn on h5, it's quite playable, but with the pawn on h6, I mean, it seems quite unpleasant.
Okay.
So yeah, all these moves, I think.
These all look quite reasonable to us.
Right. I think Vishy was making the most accurate moves. So g3, king h1.
King h1. Victor cautionary.
Bishop
you like that one?
Yeah. I mean, basically, all these lines. Yeah. Exactly. All these lines are very similar. I just have, I'm just down a tempo here, and that seems to make a big difference. Unfortunately for me.
Okay. So round about here. We kind of liked what was going on.
Yeah, actually, originally after knight a5, I wanted to play knight d7.
Yeah, I think we were
unfortunately.
I think we were just going to come back.
Bishop g1. Actually, if bishop g1, I thought rook f6, and I wasn't.
Rook f6. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure what was going on once again.
Knight c4.
Knight c4 and take on h2.
I guess bishop f2.
f2, h4, and.
Okay.
Well, I'm probably worse once again, but
okay, you felt
it's a position. The problem is, I mean, pretty much everything's a position where I'm worse, but
okay,
we're not computers, so anything can happen.
Absolutely.
Coming in on that point, we've had a tweet because we get sent evaluations, and apparently it was either you were down 5 points or down 4. It was one of the two around.
Yeah, but who cares?
But no, the question is, Danny. The question is. Do you think at one point you might have objectively been lost around this period?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not for humans.
Not for humans. Not for humans.
Yeah, if I played a computer, I would lose every single game. But I mean, that's really I think that's one of the philosophical views that I have about chess these days. Is computers have made it, very difficult to surprise your opponents, and so sometimes, when you reach positions like this. Like in the King's Indian, where there's a lot of play for both sides, you're not going to find the absolute best moves because simply we're not computers. That's just not how our brains work.
And I think the problem is that there are a lot of people. I get this a lot. A lot of people watching chess online a lot of them have only played chess, or most of their chess online, and often, it's very easy when you've got a computer at your side, and they don't haven't experienced what it's like in a hot tournament hall when you don't get a chance to take your moves back. And so, this kind of position can be random. However,
actually,
this position
here.
Well, no, bishop takes a6. Well, the move we thought actually,
or bishop e6.
We thought bishop e6.
Right, so bishop
we're
e6.
kind of surprised by knight e6, but we thought bishop e6.
This is one of the other reasons that I chose to play the King's Indian against Vishy, is simply that he's not a d4 player by nature. He has played e4 for most of his career until the last couple of years. So I figured, especially in the King's Indian, which he has very little experience, that he wouldn't necessarily understand the structures, the position as well as I did, and so that's another reason that I chose this opening.
Mm-hmm.
And knight e6, is a textbook move as opposed to bishop e6, simply because
to get rid of the bishop. And
one of the main principles with white, if you're playing against the King's Indian, is if you get rid of that light square bishop, the whole attack dies. Mm-hmm. So, knight e6, I think, is very principled. Whether it's correct or not, I'm not sure. Bishop e6.
We should just explain that, because very often. Sorry, I'm just going to go back. Very often, of course, black's threat is to take on e4 or knight somewhere and queen h4, and if h3, then you can sack the bishop. So very often, the white's big aim in the King's Indian is, of course, to get rid of that bishop on c8. So that was a very principled Vishy move. But we did think bishop e6 was pretty unpleasant, actually.
So bishop e6. Okay, I think here I was going to play knight d7.
Yeah. So I guess bishop
g1, take on h2.
Okay, out we pop.
And h4.
H4, I would just continue.
Yeah, and
wow.
What are
these guys feeling at the moment?
I'm just going to attack on the king side. I'm
not
worried.
bothered. Okay, but this time at least my bishop can.
Right, but at the same time I'll move my knight and go h3 again.
Okay, but when you move your knight, my bishop's still there. I don't know. This feels super dodgy.
Okay, so bishop e6. Let's go back to bishop e6. Let me see if there's something simpler. Okay, so if let's say I just take on h2 here.
Okay, take on h2.
For instance.
Yeah.
I thought knight c4.
Yeah. Okay, we'll come back.
h4.
h4. Wow.
Just h3 and
completely direct.
Just play. Just attack. I have nothing else to do, so I might as well just.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, I need to hit this.
It's basically I attack on the king side or I lose. So it's very easy to just play in these sorts of positions.
Okay. Can I attack this guy quickly? Not easily.
Basically, I'm going to go knight h5, knight g3, or h3 and knight h5.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's probably objectively it's much worse, but for a human,
okay,
you just
true.
play.
It's not obvious.
Because I don't really have to find the difficult moves here. I just I attack, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, I lose horribly and look like an idiot. But it's really the onus is on Vishy to find all the right moves.
Okay,
at this point.
let's have a look at. Sorry, Lawrence.
No, I was just going to say we did get a quick question. We'll go to another key point in a second. But we had a lot of people watching the webcam, and obviously after the game, what did you ask Vishy? At the end of the game, were you just discussing it, or was?
Oh, we were discussing his blunder, which was knight c4.
Right.
Actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's look at this position. So this is where Vishy played knight c4.
Right, and I think after knight c4, he's objectively he goes from probably much better to being lost. I think.
Well, as soon as you played queen e8, we just went, oh.
Yeah,
that's a bit tricky.
And then, it's a very unusual motif here.
And then.
Yeah,
because
bishop
the bishop's got to switch diagonals.
So. Yeah, so you go to bishop f5 or h3, there's this queen b5 move, which is very, very odd.
Came out of left field.
Yeah.
So instead of knight c4, so this is one of the critical moments in the game. So what did you think that white should play?
I wasn't sure. I mean, I think actually when I played against Levon Aronian, one of the things he said is that when when you're calculating variations, you don't want to start looking for
opponent's moves.
Yeah, for your
Yeah.
opponent. And so kind of I just I knew what my plan was, and I figured let him figure it all out. I'm just
Okay.
going to go h4, knight h5, knight g3.
It sounds like a blitz mentality to me. That's how we play blitz.
Well, it's the King's Indian.
But it's the King's
Yeah.
Indian. Okay, so
I
different
attack
kettle of fish.
and yeah.
Yeah. So hang on. How come you played like this against Vishy, but against Kramnik? Catalan, rock solid with black, Iron Man. I will not go
Well,
on the board.
okay.
I will
I
not
mean,
be pushed.
it's
Just a different.
well, I guess
style.
after yesterday, I figured if
You got mad.
Yeah, basically, I didn't like the way that I lost yesterday because I felt that I tried to play too solidly, and I figured if I'm going to lose, then I should,
Give it a punt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Give
yeah.
myself some chances to go for it.
So yeah, not your problem what White does here. But anyway, he played here. So Queen E8. And this is the moment. The more we looked, the more we realised things have turned. So Vishy played Bishop D5, which of course leaves his king side.
Right now, I think
vulnerable.
I think everything just collapses because H4.
And these pieces, they just get in the way, don't they? Basically.
Yeah, because I mean that's the thing is the pawn on D6 looks very strong, but it's not going anywhere. And I mean, in the King's Indian, you normally want to try and invade on the C file, and here it's going to take at least 4 moves before you can get the rook to C7.
Precisely.
So I think that's why I played rook F2, but I think after H3 this is just very, very unpleasant.
You just kept going. So actually, we missed the very end of the game. So basically...
Actually, rook C8 is very important here, because if I play knight H5, for instance, instead of rook C8, right here, knight H5, then I think here he can go rook D2.
D2.
With the idea of bringing the bishop back to F2, and I didn't really see a clear-cut way to crash through, whereas in the game after rook C8,
Rook C8 is great because it just ties him up completely.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
So
No,
rook
that was
A5,
fantastic.
knight H4.
Okay, so basically you just... knight D7 was nice, you kept going, and now there are all these horrible tricks with when the queen moves.
Right, I mean, I used most of my time when I played knight H4 calculating this line. I think everything here is forced. Rook A3. Actually, yeah, if he goes knight D2 instead of rook A3, for instance, just a nice little variation. There's rook C1.
Rook C1, yeah, we found that one.
Takes, knight takes
And knight
F3.
F3
Queen H3, mate,
Queen
knight
H3.
C1.
Okay.
So rook A3. And actually, here I actually miscalculated originally because I was going to play knight takes B6, with the idea that once again, if knight takes B6, rook C1 just wins on the spot because of the same mate threat. But the problem is after knight B6, White can go bishop to E6 and move 38.
Okay. Back a move.
Yeah, here bishop E6, and I think now White's winning.
Okay, so suddenly you've covered H3.
Yeah, because you cover H3, you have bishop G4, and now the D pawn will start running.
So rook takes, and the D
rook
pawn,
C4 and
D pawn run. So
bishop takes C4 and knight takes C4 and D7.
No tricks, can't get in there.
I wasn't sure. I mean, I thought maybe here I can play bishop takes B4 and White queens and king H7 and something. And, okay, I mean it's probably losing. So like rook D3 maybe.
Yeah, rook D3.
I don't know, knight E3 maybe.
Oh.
Yeah, and actually knight E3 and but king G6.
King G6.
Queen G8, king F6.
King F6, are you still on the board? You are. The bishop covers. The bishop covers the critical squares.
Okay, it's a bit of a fantasy variation.
Next time.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. Next time.
Okay. All right. So A5.
Right now, if bishop takes A5, it's basically it's the same idea in one form or another. Now it's bishop takes D6, and once again, if takes rook C1.
Rook C1.
It's always the same idea with rook C1.
Okay, so let's see the game. So bishop E1. This is great. So you've crashed through. Yeah.
So bishop C5.
So now you're threatening just to take on F2 and take here. So
right. If rook takes C5, knight takes C5, for instance. Just very simply bishop E2, knight E6, and it's the dream.
There we go.
Just knight G5, and everything collapses.
Yeah, knight G5, exactly. Yeah.
So bishop
We
E2.
did get that far. Okay, so bishop E2.
Right, so takes, rook B5, bishop D4. I guess here, bishop D1's really the only.
Yeah, we haven't seen these moves yet, actually. So we turned our attention elsewhere by this point. But let's have a
So
look.
it takes 1 rook g6, and I mean just the e-pawn falls quite simply.
Okay.
Actually, if white doesn't check, I'm also threatening knight g4 takes rook h6, rook h1 as
right.
well. So
Okay, so that threat and rook h6. Okay, so around about here.
yeah, he just resigned because
Resigned
well,
here,
the e-pawn's hanging and with the two connected. So
Yeah.
any endgame really should be winning now.
Problems here.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, Hikaru, we really enjoyed that
Really
game.
good.
That was absolutely fantastic.
And
It's
Okay.
exciting.
we've got a few questions from the Twitter sphere. I know you're on Twitter, Hikaru, so you're sort of, obliged to answer them because you're part of the community. So a really, really interesting question, the one that was most interesting to me, was when you become world number one, so it's slightly assumptive as well, will you buy a Lamborghini or a Ferrari, even if you don't become world number one?
Maybe at some point. I'm happy with my Beamer right now. So,
Oh, he's got a Beamer. That's
that's good enough for now. I'll worry about those
that
things
was by,
when I'm not playing chess.
Stacey Cochran. I don't know if that's a man or a female, so you might want to reconsider that answer. Don't know. This is a really good question. John Gray, is this your biggest single win?
Probably overall it is. I mean, I've had some better quality wins than this, but certainly beating the world champion, the first time you do that, it's something special. So it seems like every year I beat someone really good with black. I know last year I beat Kramnik for the first time with black, and so now I beat Anand with the first time. Maybe next year I'll actually learn how to beat Magnus with black. Yeah, it's the biggest win though for the time being.
Okay, all right.
Okay, well, let's give you the... Sorry, you got
One more
question.
We're going to take a question from
Let's
the
take
crowd.
a question from the audience here in London. Better be quick. Hikaru's got plans. Yep.
Back next year.
Well,
Question is, are you coming back next year?
certainly I hope to be back next year. I think this tournament, it's the location is great. I always enjoy being here in London. And playing against the top players in the world is very special. Not to mention all the enthusiasm from the fans who are here watching, from the online community. It's very good for chess, and yeah, I hope to be back next year, and hopefully this tournament continues for many more years as well.
Hikaru Nakamura, thank you very much indeed.